I remember it was about 2017. I had just started living on my own and getting comfortable with that. It's when I started questioning a lot of the things that I was taught growing up in church. I had a lot of different experiences from two or three different churches throughout my middle school, high school, even into college years, where it just kind of seemed like there was some tension in some of the things I was taught between different denominations. And I got to the point where I was almost in like a toxic season where I was by myself. I had Christian friends, a Christian circle that I was in. I myself was a believer, but I started to slowly gravitate toward my friends who were not believers. They kind of were influencing me more than my Christian circle was. My Christian friends were about 4 to 5 years younger than me, so that kind of had a lot to do with kind of my mindset at the time, how I should be acting, what I should be doing. And my friends that were not inside the church and that were not believers were a heavy influence because they were a little bit older than me, probably about the same age gap. And they were kind of just having me in their circle, inviting me to different get-togethers, parties, and so I started to question the things I was taught, and it turned into about a 4 to 5 year span of just wondering. And eventually, at the end of it, I got to a point where I didn't really know who I was anymore. When I looked in the mirror, I was a completely different person. I talked different, I acted different. I was doing things I never thought I'd ever do growing up as a kid in church. And basically, it got to a point where every night I would lay my head down on my pillow and I would think, death is just around the corner. And it was the first time in my life where I didn't have a peace about that. I had lost the peace that I had as a young believer growing up. Throughout the past 4 or 5 years of that time span, I had kind of wandered into a darkness that I was not familiar with, and I kind of found confidence and comfort in that because it had created me into a person that was hearted, numb to a lot of emotions and feelings. And it got to a point basically where I'd lay down at night and that thought would cross my mind every night, like death's around the corner. Like I felt like I was going to die soon with my lifestyle that I was living. And I started praying. Like I would go out on the porch of the place where I was living. I would start praying to God. If you hear me, if you can still use me, then please just do something miraculous for me and pull me close to you again. Let me see the truth of what real Christianity is. Let me see a community of believers that I can relate with and that I'm not afraid to be vulnerable with. Make me vulnerable again. All these thoughts and prayers kind of poured out of me almost every other night when I go out on the porch. And it eventually about 2020, 2021 is where I started feeling a tug kind of back toward church. And I started kind of navigating in and out of a church in Greenville, South Carolina. I wasn't fully sold yet as far as being a member every Sunday. And about that same time, I was given an opportunity to come back home to Charlotte. I had been familiar with Pastor John from growing up and going to high school at First Assembly. It's now Concord Academy. He was a youth pastor at the time, and I knew he had taken over Center City Church. So when I came back home, I started going more regularly to at the time it was Center City Church. And while I was there, my mindset started shifting, and throughout the season, I met my soon-to-be wife. And I remember there was one night where I was just in my room, and I told God, I have all these addictions. I'm not sure how I got to this point, but if you can do a miracle and take them out of my life, it would be like a huge deal for me. Like I really want to be used. And it was one Sunday where Pastor John was preaching, and he looked directly at me, and he said, you're never too far from grace. Like Jesus died, he is enough, the cross is enough. And it hit home. And about that same time, like I was digging more deep into my Bible, I was trying to get right with God, and Pastor John Gonzalez hit me up, and he asked if I would be, open to possibly working on the tech team. So I said, of course, yes. I thought that was like an answer to prayer for me. It was like the first opportunity I felt like where God was like, I want you back into the community of believers. I want you to, follow me, and I'm still forgive you. It's kind of like for me, that's what it meant. So I went into that, and I full heartedly just, showing up every Sunday, just doing the cameras. And about around that same time, Pastor Emma came up to me, and she knew my history before. When I used to, going up through high school and college, that I used to teach, and she asked me if I'd be interested in helping teach with the youth. And again, another door opened, and I was like, man, God's just answering prayer after prayer. From that point forward, now I'm married. I have a little girl. She's 7 months old. I've been going regularly to church ever since then, and I found what true Christianity means through the cross first, because God never left me in that season. I thought He was far from me, but He never left me. Like, He was closer than I thought He was. And because of the community of believers that pulled me in and loved me and told me I had purpose and showed me what I could do, it made an impact on my life where it spoke life into a situation of death. And because of that, now I'm standing in freedom, and I'm standing, on a solid foundation.